What's going on, guys? I gotta be honest, I am super tired today. It was a weird 24 hours, let me just put it like that. So if I don't have my best coverage on this one, please bear with me. And this is certainly a topic where I'd like to not be tired talking about. I mean, this is some very important stuff and numbers, finance, and all that. So here's the plan. This is kind of similar to the video I made a week or two ago talking about Tencent getting a 20% stake in Marvelous Inc., which gets brought up in this article as well. So I'm going to just do it like this. We're going to talk about the news here. I'm not going to get too much into the finance side of stuff like I did in the other video. But if you missed that video and you want to hear me more on the finance side of things, I'll link it in the description. You can take a look. But for now, let's just take a look at what we got here. You can see I already went through this article, found some things that were interesting to me, and we'll talk about those things and read the whole article together. Let's get into it. This is from Bloomberg. Tencent targets Japan anime, manga to jumpstart global growth. Tencent Holdings Ltd, spurned in years past by Japan's guarded entertainment industry, is rekindling its courtship of the country's fabled anime and manga houses. So again, getting into the anime and manga stuff, the good news, at least on this one, is this is focused entirely on gaming. So it's not like they're trying to get into anime and manga outside of gaming, at least in this article. Maybe they are, but this article alludes that Tencent is mostly focused on the gaming segment. And what's really interesting is that Tencent is, China in large part as well. They're very big on mobile games, right? Gacha games, mobile games, this kind of stuff. But they're not so big on the console side of things. So you'll see, actually I have it highlighted right here. Let's just keep reading. The Chinese social media giant has in recent months scooped up slices of two prominent local studios. The brains behind smash hit Nier Automata. That one I don't believe I covered. And Marvelous Inc., that's the one I did cover. Again, talked about that already. Those outlies are just the start of a spending spree designed to extend Tencent's foothold in a key creative hub while imbibing Japan's expertise. So if that is concerning, I think you have reasonable, it's reasonable to be concerned about that. I always do kind of feel bad talking about, it's hard for me to explain. It's like I said, I'm tired, but I feel kind of bad because there is benefits to some of these Japanese companies, like a big investment, as I discussed in the prior video, that can help them out. But if it's a company like Tencent, I mean, you get concerned if they're going to change the IP and that negatively affects the company in the long run. Short term, that investment looks good. Long term, if they destroy the company after investing in it, well, that didn't really help out, did it? It would only help out the people at the top if they sold their equity and got out before the company goes under. And you get the idea. So here's the part where they talk about consoles. Key creative hub while imbibing Japan's expertise in console game making and hit franchise creation. According to people familiar with its strategy, the Chinese firm is in negotiations with several other studios on potential investments, they said. I actually probably should have highlighted this part as well. That's interesting. So we might see, we might get more news of another Japanese company getting a big investment from Tencent. They continue on. Tencent has long regarded Japanese entertainment exports as an area ripe for optimization, where better distribution and marketing strategies can generate vastly greater revenues. Having cut its teeth on multi-billion-dollar acquisitions of the likes of Clash of Clans developer Supercell and Fortnite creator Epic Games Inc., the Chinese publishing powerhouse has been repeatedly rebuffed when trying to take over developers and studios in Japan. So that's actually a pretty good thing. Japan is pushing back against Tencent's approaches. However, we know they got into Marvelous. Let's see what's going on. Its new approach, however, is to spend on becoming a favored partner instead, buying board seats and priority access to new content, said the people who asked for anonymity because the plans are not public. So allegedly some insider information here on Tencent's strategy in acquiring more Japanese IP. I guess they were trying to do kind of a more brute force approach, so to speak, right? And that wasn't really working. Japan wasn't having that. They're like, you know what? We're going to keep our IP to ourselves. Massive respect to Japan on that one, guys. Seriously, round of applause. Hit that thumbs up button for Japan and also for me on that one. They're like, no, we don't want your money. We're going to keep our IP. But it's not the way it went down the entire time. It seems some of those Japanese companies ended up making a deal with Tencent. Obviously, Marvelous did recently. Now, what's interesting about Marvelous though is apparently Marvelous. I'm not too familiar with their games. I do have Senran Kagura, right? Senran Kagura, yeah. I do have one of those games. I think I actually have two of them, one or two. I forget. I didn't play much of them though. It's fun. I want to play it on stream. It's going to be funny. It's like the one where the girls are, it's like a super soaker kind of, I can't explain it in too much detail on this video. Otherwise we're going to have issues, but the girls, they look good and they're squirting each other. Oh, geez. Okay, we're gonna have it. Okay, you get the idea. The point is, I heard Marvelous Inc. was censoring some of their games before Tencent got involved. So maybe Marvelous's goodwill is already kind of has already been damaged somewhat. So this investment from Tencent really might not be a good investment for Tencent. We'll see. We'll see. Tencent's gaming division declined to comment. So that's interesting. You get information from the insiders, but not from Tencent's gaming division. I guess, who knows why. Commonly abbreviated to ACG, Japan's anime, comic book, and gaming franchises. We talked about that abbreviation in the prior video. Are already popular in Tencent's domestic market for China, the world's biggest mobile gaming arena. They fueled the rise of services like streaming platform Bilibili Inc. and provided the characters for many of the country's favorite games. And this part's concerning. But Japanese creators loathe to see... Oh, excuse me. This is not the concerning part. The concerning part's coming up again. But Japanese creators loathe to cede control of their prized assets, have preferred ad hoc licensing deals, leading to bidding wars between publishers like Tencent and TikTok owner ByteDance Ltd. So that's actually good news there. I got a little carried away. My fault. Again, Japan kind of pushing back against that, who each have competing Naruto games in China. ByteDance is preparing for a big push into gaming this year, and NetEase Inc., the other big games publisher in China, has just announced it's opening a game development studio in Tokyo. That's the part that I meant is a little concerning there. But, I mean, you know what? It might work out okay. Maybe that's a better approach. I mean, they're actually going to Tokyo. Maybe they learn a little bit more about what people want out of these games. I mean, maybe. I'm trying to be optimistic on that one. Maybe they're willing to learn and see that, yeah, some overseas markets, man, they don't want these IPs changed. The problem with China, though, is you get the Chinese government. And, you kind of have to do what they want you to do over there. Continuing, Japanese ACGs are world class. Now, of course, any government's going to want you to listen to the government. You get the point I'm making, though. Hopefully, I don't need to explain that one. Continuing, Japanese ACGs are world class, while their Chinese counterparts are years behind. Even Tencent cannot cultivate sophisticated IP expertise internally fast enough, said Tokyo-based games industry analyst Sirkin Toto. That's a gentleman who we talked about in the last article as well. Although I think we have a somewhat different quote here. This one's a little bit longer. It's all about quick international expansion, access to established ACG properties, and insight into creating top-notch IPs from scratch. So let's read that one more time, actually, without me breaking it up, because this is really interesting. Japanese ACGs, again, anime comics games, are world-class, while their Chinese counterparts are years behind. Even Tencent cannot cultivate sophisticated IP expertise internally fast enough, said Tokyo-based games industry analyst Sirkin Toto. It's all about quick international expansion, access to established ACG properties, and insight into creating top-notch IPs from scratch. What I get out of that, and of course, oh my gosh, I hope I've been messing up this whole video. I have my screen cap a little different on this one because I wanted to make it bigger for people to see, but I've kind of been messing the scrolling up, I see now. Hopefully it's not too bad. Sorry about that. The point I'm getting at on this one is it's interesting. It seems like Japan is very in touch with what their market wants. They're very in touch with their customers, with their consumers, however you want to put it. Japan knows what people want, and they're happy to give them what they want. So it seems like China's just very impressed by that, and they want to get more in touch with their market as well. And falling back to what I said about government, the restrictions and censorship in China, that's what I'm referring to earlier. So when you have all those issues, I mean, I guess it's a bit tough for some of these Chinese companies, to be fair, to create IP when they're so limited. So they see companies like these other Japanese companies and the IP they have and the goodwill they have, and they think, well, maybe we can get in on that instead. And then they learn from these Japanese companies and then try to make their own IP from there. I don't know. That's not necessarily, I'm not framing that as a bad or a good thing, really. Make of that what you will. We have a little diagram here. It says, significant slice. Games based on anime and comics make up more than a tenth of the Chinese market. You have a little graph here, 7.6 billion won anime game revenue. The larger part of the pie chart, 73.2 billion won total game revenue. Source for that, Games Publishers Associate my gosh, I'm trying to see if I have it on screen. Yeah, I do. Okay, so it's like near the bottom of the screen, it's near the middle for you guys. I'll have to keep that in mind. Source, Game Publishers Association Publications Committee. My gosh, that's a mouthful. Note, figures for quarter ending March 31st. All right. Tencent's vision is to help set up Marvel Universe-like multimedia franchises. This is really cringy, with a focus on turning celebrated anime and manga comic book heroes, weird phrasing, and storylines into video games, squeezing the most out of each intellectual property, With its control of WeChat, China's super app and go-to messaging platform, the company has a significant advantage in cross-promoting its wares. So let's talk about that part for a moment. What? Why would you want to take the business model of Marvel, who has completely destroyed their goodwill and the IP? Like, that's something I'll never understand. Marvel, you have IP that basically prints money, like golden IP, and you still manage to ruin that? That's baffling. So one more time, Tencent's vision is to help set up Marvel Universe-like multimedia franchises with a focus on turning celebrated anime and manga comic book heroes. That doesn't even really make sense. I mean, how are you going to compare that? The Marvel Universe is like, okay, there's different universes in Marvel, but you get the idea. The Marvel Universe, like using that loosely, you get how these characters are all in the same universe. Push aside alternate universes and that sort of stuff. You get what I'm talking about. For anime, I mean, you could have way different anime. Like, you're not going to have a crossover with, like, DBZ and, what would be, like, some slice of life or something like, what's that, camp? What is it called? I forget the name. It's like Y something camp. It's like a slice of life. The girls are just, like, camping out. Now, the only exception I could think of for this is the Isekai Quartet. But that works because it's like the Isekai genre. I mean, if you start doing that with all kinds of different IPs for anime and manga, like all these crossovers, I think that's going to get weird and annoying at some part. Like, it works for Isekai Quartet because, again, it's a Isekai, so it kind of makes sense, alternate world, and it's, like, funny, comedic, and it's, like, a specific niche, specific genre. But if you start doing that, like, all over the place, man, I think, I don't know, I just don't think people, I think people will get, like, tired of that. I don't think it'll work so well. Continuing on, with its control of WeChat, China's super app, and go-to messaging platform, the company has a significant advantage in cross-promoting its wares. Read that part quick because we already read that. The Japanese creative scene is rich on potential targets, said Hideki Yasuda of Ace Research Institute. The Japanese creative scene is rich on potential targets. Oof. Again, I don't want to discount that this could be good for some of these companies. I just get concerned. At least as we have read, according to this article, at least some of these companies have been pushing back against these potential acquisitions or majority stakes. So hopefully they know what they're doing, you know. Neon Genesis Evangelion and Doraemon are recognized in China, but have not yet translated into major gaming hits in that country. Again, like I mentioned at the very beginning, this article is focused on gaming specifically, even talking about anime and manga. They're talking about translating it into the gaming market, making some games with that IP. Games like Love Plus by Konami Holdings Corp., Disgaea by Nippon Ichi Software Inc., and Legend of Heroes by Nihon Falcom Group, Corp. Where did I see group? Oh, I think I messed up with growth right there. Also hold growth potential if properly adapted and distributed in Tencent's home market. The Shenzhen-based company commands roughly half of China's $33 billion mobile and PC gaming industry. Data from research firm Nico Partners shows that, period right there. That's where they get that information from, Nico Partners. That arena is increasingly dominated by titles built on already familiar characters and lore, as 73 of the top 100 grossing mobile games last year were based on existing IP, according to analysts. Tencent approached Tokyo-based Marvelous, thinking, oh, I'm cutting it off again. I really messed that up in this video. I know, guys, but I don't want to cut the video and redo it all. I'm so tired today. I was trying to do a good thing by resizing this, but I messed up. I apologize. I hope it hasn't been too bad. Where do we even leave off now? I'm gonna get a sip of coffee. give me a second on this one, guys. Thank you for your patience. I think we left off right here. That sip of coffee was worth it. Jogged my memory. Tencent approached Tokyo-based Marvelous, seeking to tap its IP library, console development expertise, and connections with other anime comic gaming creators in April, according to several people with direct knowledge of the matter. Marvelous is known for the Story of Seasons farming simulation and produces... Wait, are they really not going to bring up Senran Kagura? I thought that was their most well-known thing. Marvelous is known for the Story of Seasons farming simulation and produces theater shows based on hit anime series like Prince of Tennis, which in itself was an adaptation of a successful manga series. Am I totally wrong about that? Is Senran Kagura not like the flagship show of Marvelous Inc.? I have no idea anymore, man. I don't even know. Let me know in the comments what you think about that one. Curious to your thoughts on that. The 7 billion yen, about 65 million USD, if you convert that Tencent is spending for a 20% stake. This is again about Marvelous, grants it pole position for licensing Marvelous IP and makes the head of Tencent Japan an external director. Tencent wanted that board presence in order to have an insider's view of the company's product pipeline, the people said. So that's a really interesting perspective. We can see that some of these investments, they might You know, I mean, if you look at an investment on a very basic level, you understand, oh, they like this company, they want some of that company. But you really start seeing stuff like this and you get nitty gritty about it. You know, they wanted to see the company's pipeline and they had to get a certain percentage stake to get a position where they could see that. It's interesting stuff. Continuing on. Marvelous covers ACG through and through. Oh, this is literally the quote from the old article. Hey, if you saw the old video, shouts out to you. You probably remember this quote. Marvelous covers ACG through and through. A great target for Tencent, said Toto. And for Japanese ACG creators, Tencent is a great established name to be associated with. Don't know about that part. X to, I don't want to say X to doubt. I'm just going to go with big question mark again on that one. Tencent is a great established name to be associated with. Big question mark. That kind of also contradicts what we were told in this article already about some Japanese companies being hesitant to work with Tencent and other, companies that were looking for investment. But this is about Tencent, so fair enough. Continuing. Fighting a tough battle against fiercely competitive domestic rivals, Tencent appears willing to spend extra to secure the rights to popular Japanese franchises. Oh, you don't want the deal? Well, how about now? Slide you some more money. They got big money, and apparently some big interest too. Hoping to leverage them into multimedia juggernauts that lock Chinese consumers into its ecosystem and bolster its global ambitions. Equally important for Tencent was Marvelous's success in developing console games. The Chinese behemoth is virtually absent from that contest. Now, that's a bit of information I gave you way earlier on in this article, this video. I thought that was really interesting, so I wanted to mention that early on, which accounts for 30% of overall game industry revenue, according to Nizou data. With a new generation of consoles from Microsoft and Sony on the holiday season horizon, and a budding partnership with Nintendo as the sole distributor of official Switch hardware and software in China, Tencent is evidently interested in having a larger presence on this front. Dude, there's like a kid. What is going on with my neighbors? There's a kid screaming downstairs. There's like banging and stuff. The floor shaking. I don't even know what's going on anymore, man. I said that already, but it's been a weird few days here. Tencent also made an investment in Bayonetta and Nier Automata maker Platinum Games Inc. earlier this year in February. Platinum Games co-founder and chief executive officer Kenichi Sato assured fans that the so-called capital alliance with Tencent wouldn't affect the company's management, saying they respect our autonomy as game creators. How is that possible, though? I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm trying to be optimistic with all this stuff, as I've said too, but I mean, I don't know. The studio, whose work has until now been published by larger partners like Nintendo and Square Enix Holdings, had been looking for help to grow and become its own publisher, whereas Tencent saw high potential for its creations in the Chinese and mobile markets. The deal was a win-win situation, Sato wrote. And there you go, man. Actually, no, we have one more. We've got two more. No, wait. One more paragraph. Right? Yeah. Japan and China have formed a symbiotic relationship for games in recent years, with gaming companies from each country learning from each other to succeed in both markets, said Nico Partners researcher Daniel Ahmed. All right. This video is actually almost 20 minutes long. I'm just going to end it here. I think I've rambled plenty throughout this whole video, and I probably didn't do a great job because I scrolled without really realizing where the scroll was scrolling. So enough of my rambly, tired nonsense. I still hope you enjoyed this video, and I still greatly appreciate you for tuning in. Thank you all very much, and I'll see you next time.